I was always there, smiling in the background, helping clean up the mess others made. The overlooked sister, the one people forgot to introduce, the one cropped out of family photos. My name is Rose, and for most of my life, I felt more like a ghost than a daughter. At dinners, my mother's praise danced around me and landed squarely on my older sister, Clara. Clara, the graceful, the golden child, the one with the perfect ballet twirls and the flawless GPA. And me? I was also here, always also. Never only. I didn't hate her. At least, not at first. I admired her, like you admire the moon, knowing it's beautiful but cold and unreachable. What hurt wasn't that Clara shined. It was that no one seemed to care I was standing in the dark. I remember my 16th birthday. A cheap cake from the corner store, while Clara's had been a garden party with violinists. No one even lit the candles for mine. They forgot the lighter. People assume the real pain comes from big betrayals, but it doesn't. It comes from the thousands of little cuts. Being asked to take the photo, never be in it. Having your words drowned out mid-sentence, getting a hand-me-down dress for prom while your sister gets a custom one, it accumulates, and then it hardens. One day, I stopped waiting to be seen, and I started planning what they'd never see coming, but I didn't know yet how far things would go, or how deeply I'd have to dig to reclaim my name. Because in my family, silence wasn't peace, it was control. And I was about to shatter it. It was raining. Of course it was. The sky always seems to mirror your insides when you're barely holding it together. My father's funeral drew a crowd, old business partners in sleek coats, neighbors with pity in their eyes, and Clara in the front row, weeping just enough to look delicate but composed. I stood in the back, alone. No one asked if I was okay. No one even looked twice. Not even my mother. That funeral was the first time I saw it clearly. How grief reveals the power dynamics of a family. Clara was draped in attention, embraced like a grieving queen. I, on the other hand, was background noise, but I wasn't crying for my father. Not really. I was crying because I realized I didn't matter, not even in his death. After the service, Clara gave a eulogy. Perfect posture, voice trembling in just the right places. She spoke about legacy, about love, about being his everything. That word echoed in my mind. Everything, as if I didn't even exist. I watched my mother nod, proud and unmoved by my silence. I didn't speak. Not yet. That night, I found a letter in the back of my father's desk drawer. It wasn't addressed to me. It was to Clara. But I read it anyway. What it said changed everything. Words that praised her. A sentence that chilled me. She'll carry our name. She's the future of the family. That's when it clicked. I was never supposed to be part of the future. I was the extra piece, the spare. But spares can be sharpened. And that was the moment I began to sharpen myself. Because if being ignored was my role in their story, I'd write a new one. After the funeral, the world moved on. People always do. Death fades fast for everyone but the ones who were left out. And I had been left out of more than just the will. My name was missing entirely. No mention. Not even a token trinket from my father's estate. Clara inherited everything. The house, the accounts, even his old watch, the one he used to say would go to someone responsible. Apparently, I didn't qualify. My mother said it was a mistake, a technicality. But her eyes gave it away. It wasn't. It was deliberate. Clara, the golden girl, was now the sole heir to a legacy I had also helped build. Quietly, painfully, invisibly. I cooked meals when Dad got sick. I cleaned the house when no one else did. I held my mother's hand when Clara was too busy shining. None of it mattered. Not to them. I started writing. Not poetry. Not fiction. I wrote facts. Memories. Moments. I kept a journal. Dates. Words said. Favors done. Wounds ignored. Every time someone forgot my name, I made a note of it. Every time they stole the spotlight, I scribbled it down. I didn't cry. I documented. I built a timeline of betrayal. And while Clara posted photos of her grief journey and inspirational quotes, I quietly researched. I wanted to know how power worked. In business, in reputation, in legacy. I started learning things she never thought I'd understand. And soon, I'd find the cracks in her castle of mirrors. Because here's what people forget. The quiet ones are always watching. And when we rise with receipts. They say revenge is loud, a slap, a scream, a shattered glass. But mine began in silence, calculated, intentional. I didn't confront Clara. I didn't fight my mother. I became someone else entirely. I stopped reacting, and that terrified them more than any outburst ever could. I stopped answering messages in the family group chat. Not that they ever addressed me directly. I politely declined dinners, skipped birthdays. When they noticed I wasn't around, it wasn't concern. It was curiosity. "Is Rose okay?" my mother asked Clara. Not me, never me. But I smiled, because now they were starting to feel what I had felt for years. Absence. While they gossiped and grieved publicly, I rebranded myself. I started a side project I never told anyone about. A blog, anonymous. Focused on family betrayal, emotional neglect, toxic parenting, the myth of the perfect daughter. It was raw, unfiltered, and it went viral. Strangers resonated. They shared their own wounds, their own stories. And suddenly, my voice, the one they had buried for so long, was being heard around the world. I didn't need their permission to speak, and I didn't need their approval to be powerful. That blog was my first move. A whisper that turned into a scream. And though they didn't know it was me behind the screen, they would, eventually. Because sometimes, you don't need to burn bridges. You just build a platform taller than the one they denied you. A month after my blog hit 1 million views, I got an email. It was from a major podcast producer. They had read my anonymous entries and wanted to adapt them, my story, into a series. At first, I froze. It felt too big, too fast. But then I realized this was it. My chance not just to be heard, but to make the world feel what I had felt. I agreed. Under one condition, I would narrate it. Anonymously, yes, but it would be my voice, my pain, in my tone. I recorded the first episode in my bedroom closet, heart racing. It opened with, "They never said my name at the funeral, but this story isn't about grief. It's about erasure, and what happens when the erased return." It launched. It exploded. Within weeks, strangers were quoting my words. I didn't cry. I rebuilt. She was the favorite. I was the shadow. People connected deeply. They emailed. They cried. They saw me, even if they didn't know who I was. But someone in my family must have listened. Because Clara posted a cryptic caption soon after. Some people rewrite history to make themselves feel relevant. That's when I knew she suspected. And that was exactly what I wanted. If this part of my story resonates with you, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. That's how YouTube knows this matters, and how more people can find it. Because there's someone out there right now, silently surviving. And they deserve to hear this too. It didn't take long. Clara reached out. Not with warmth. Not with love. But with warning. A cold message landed in my inbox. "We need to talk. I know it's you." No greeting. No compassion. Just control, the way she had always operated. But I didn't respond. That silence, that was strategy. She started posting more often. Photos of us as kids, captions dripping with nostalgia, trying to rewrite history in public before I could finish telling it in private. I watched her play the victim. "Families fall apart when one person lies to the world," she wrote once. I almost laughed. She had lied for years, about who I was, about what she did. Now the truth was finally cracking the surface, and she couldn't bear to lose her crown. Then came the real twist. A journalist, one I trusted, reached out. She'd been digging. She connected the dots. She asked if I'd ever go public. "Your story could change people," she said. "But it'll change your life, too." I knew what she meant. Going public meant war. No more hiding, no more masks. But maybe I was done hiding. So I gave her my story. The full version. The bruises, the birthdays they skipped, the betrayal buried under fake smiles. I gave her my name, Rose Weller, the overlooked sister, the one they forgot, until it was too late. Because sometimes revenge isn't a scream, it's a headline. It dropped on a Sunday morning, front page of a major online magazine, the overlooked sister who rose alone and spoke for us all. My face, my name, my words, laid bare for the world. I didn't leave the house that day. I didn't need to. My phone lit up every second. Strangers sent messages of gratitude. Survivors said they felt seen. Former classmates apologized. And my mother? She went silent. But Clara? She imploded. She posted a video within hours, shaky, tear-stained, rehearsed. She denied everything. Called me unstable, dramatic, bitter. She said I fabricated it all for attention. I let her speak. I let her squirm. Because when liars panic, they expose themselves. Her mask cracked with every word. The comments didn't go her way. People remembered the girl always left out of photos, the sister who stood in the back. They remembered me. Suddenly, my story wasn't just mine. It was a mirror for thousands. The article was shared by advocacy groups, therapists, influencers. Not because I was famous, but because I was familiar. Everyone knows a Clara. Everyone has a Rose inside them. My mother called, left a voicemail. Short. Hollow. We need to talk. But I didn't call back. Not yet. Not because I was angry, but because for the first time in my life, they had to wait for me. They used to say I was too quiet. Now they couldn't silence me. 3 weeks later, I walked into the house I once called home. Not for forgiveness, not for reconciliation, but for something else entirely. Acknowledgement. Clara opened the door. She looked thinner. Her confidence chipped. So, she said, folding her arms, you made yourself famous. Her voice had venom, but behind it, fear. I didn't sit. I didn't smile. I handed her a printout of the article, my words in black and white. I didn't come to argue, I said. I came to make sure you read every word, without twisting them. She rolled her eyes. You always needed attention. I stayed calm. No, I needed recognition. There's a difference. My mother sat in the corner, small and silent. She didn't defend Clara. She didn't speak to me. But she didn't stop me either. That, in itself, was new. I told them everything, not to heal them, but to free myself. I told them about the birthdays they skipped, the conversations they never started, the pain they pretended didn't exist. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I named things. And naming is power. When I left, Clara didn't follow. My mother didn't hug me. But the silence felt different. Not cold. Not cruel. Just stunned. As if, for the first time, they were forced to see me as something more than a shadow. And whether they accepted it or not, didn't matter anymore. I had reclaimed my voice. And this time, I didn't whisper. After the confrontation, I didn't return home again. Not physically, not emotionally. That chapter was closed. But what I did next surprised even me. I turned my pain into purpose. I launched a foundation, small at first, for young women like me. Girls ignored, undervalued, forgotten by their own families. We called it the Second Daughter Project. We offered workshops, safe spaces, mentorship, and most importantly, validation. Every woman who stepped through those doors carried a different version of the same wound, and every one of them left standing taller, including me. Clara went silent. For once, truly silent. No more cryptic posts, no passive-aggressive digs. Maybe she realized the war was over. Or maybe she finally looked in the mirror and saw the role she played. I didn't need her apology. I had something better, impact. Reporters followed the story. I was invited to speak on panels, at schools, in podcasts. Not as Clara's sister, not as the forgotten girl, but as Rose Weller, a woman who rebuilt herself from scratch and then turned around to build for others. They tried to make me invisible. Instead, I became unforgettable. Last month, I stood on a stage in front of 2,000 people. The auditorium lights blinded me, but I wasn't afraid. I told my story, every line of it, the shame, the silence, the shadows I once lived in. And as I spoke, I didn't just hear applause, I felt it. Like every clap was a hand pulling me higher. When I finished, a woman approached me with tears in her eyes. She whispered, "Thank you for saying what I never could." That's when I knew my story wasn't just mine. It belonged to every overlooked girl who was told to be quiet, to smile, to disappear. But I didn't disappear. I became undeniable. A week later, Clara sent me a letter, handwritten, short, no excuses, no explanations, just, "I was wrong. You deserved better. I see that now." I didn't frame it. I didn't cry. I placed it in a box with my journal, the one I started after the funeral. The one filled with pain and power. I don't hate her. Not anymore. Because the best revenge was never revenge at all. It was rising. It was building something bigger than her spotlight. It was stepping out of the frame they left me out of and making the world watch. So if you've ever felt invisible like I did, leave a comment below. I read them all. Don't forget to hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell. Someone out there needs this story just like you found it today.